Feel no pain. When used on ally, it grants a personal Razarium. When used on enemy, stun. The Razarium from this ability lasts longer than usual. Now instead of drawing aggro from enemy, you can just shield your ally. Perhaps the only downside is that it's very easy to miss targets fighting enemy combat. And instead of invulnerability, you will end up with stun, or vice versa. Is it useful? Yes. Is it necessary? No. Brotherhood. The aura for allies. Adds HP, armor and regeneration. Hard to say about armor, but it provides about 200 HP to every squad. It seems nice, but the previous ability granted invulnerability, while this one only a slight stat boost. Option. Special Weapons Tactician. Tactical advance buffs non-bolter weapons, rate of fire for plasma, range for melter and damage over time for flamers. In the end, it's only useful with plasma. Melter deals bonus damage when shooting at close range, so you always want to stay close with it anyway. But do you even need that? When you already have the bolter specialist and the storm bolter is Tarkus' best ranged weapon. Standguard Squad. Tarkus demoralize nearby enemies and unlock special ammunition for bolters. As for demoralize, it's hard to say what it actually does, whether it does anything at all or how effective it is. Special ammunition, on the other hand, is more straightforward. Dragonfire bolts. Explode on impact but deal reduced damage. Kraken bolts. Increase range by about 4 meters. Vengeance rounds. Offer better penetration against vehicles and buildings, but reduce range. Basically, Dragonfire bolts more or less cancel out their own bonus by reducing damage. The range bonus from Kraken bolts is simply not needed. Vengeance rounds are okay overall, but let's not forget, we are talking about bolters here, and bolters mean terminators, and terminators mean 4 power fists. But that's not even the real problem, which is that the special armor takes up an equipment slot. So instead of them, you could just equip Seal of Purity with plus 15% damage and get a similar result. On top of that, the skill is very expensive. It only works with bolters, and the previous perk, on the contrary, does not work with bolters. Which means you spend 10 skill points to lose an equipment slot and get minimum bonuses with penalties on top of that. Challenge. Taunt now forces enemies to engage in melee. Remember how I said in the vanilla campaign that Tarkus has no quick way to close the gap with ranged enemies, making it inconvenient to play as a melee fighter. Well, now they come to him themselves and try to hit him with their rifles for 0 damage. This is probably the best talent in the entire expansion and the main reason why melee Tarkus is so incredibly good. The second reason is that the power sword is now his highest DPS weapon and one of the best in the game overall. Not only does he effectively shut down ranged enemies, he also pulls all enemies toward him, making them easy target for AoE abilities. Reactive Strike. Enemies who attack Tarkus in close combat suffer damage with every attack. Look, you are regularly knock enemies down or stunning them, which means they are not attacking you. And this talent doesn't help at all against bosses. As a result, there is no practical need for it. Volley. Now throw 3 frag grenades at once. First of all, Grenadier got a lot better in the expansion because it's way easier to restore energies than replenish consumables now. Plus, Tarkus switched from Terminator armor to power armor, so the fit will actually work. And Volley itself makes grenades 3 times as effective, letting you clear out buildings with a single cast. On the downside, in Chaos Rising, apart from clearing out buildings, there isn't much use for the frag grenade. It's a fun talent, but optional, and depending on your party, you might not even want to take frag grenade in the first place. Tactical Supremacy. Bonus melee damage for Tarkus and additional bonus when combined with other supremacies. I already discussed this skill when we were talking about the commander. The skill is good for melee Tarkus and overall better than Reactive Strike. It also combines well with commanders, but if you are going for ranged build or full heretic, there's no reason to take it. Fervor. More damage and better defense against diamonds. A very simple and yet useful bonus. Bloodlust. Shield of Hate. Global ability covers an ally with a damage reflecting shield. One of the worst global abilities, it only works on one unit and you probably won't even notice its effect. Enrage. Replaces taunt, now enemies attack each other instead of Tarkus. From what I have seen, some enemies still go for tacos. Overall, it's cool effect, especially when used to get rid of Tyrannid mines, but it replaces challenge. So yeah, you create chaos on battlefield, but when it comes to efficiency, pulling all enemies under AoE is way better. Will to power. Unholy Zeal. Temporary invulnerability and enemy attacks now heal you. Sounds powerful, but the effect duration is very short and you are very damage resistant. So enemies only manage a couple of hits, healing you for very little HP. Mark of Nurgle. Immunity to suppression, tactical advance is replaced by Aura of Decay, which heals Tarkus, damage enemies and greatly reduces his movement speed. The slow is around 80%, making it nearly impossible to move while it's active, which means you have to keep switching it on and off all the time. Damage and healing are roughly on par with the Flamer. On the downside, all talents tied to tactical advance are now useless and Tarkus no longer gets damage reduction. So the energy branch is now useless, as are two the best talents from the melee branch. All in all, the ability is, to put it mildly, specific, and overall the Heretic Tarkus is much weaker than the pure version. But it's not that bad. If you already have good equipment, then under Aura of Decay he will live as long as there is energy. Plus the Heretic branch allows you to save points on melee and energy, focusing purely on stamina and ranged. It's not optimal, but in terms of build variety, it's fun. Melee meta. Start with challenge, veteran squad mates, improved loadout, then get tactical supremacy and put the rest into stamina. This is the strongest build. Use power armor with a power sword. Works best as loyalist and with the melee commander. Range build from the vanilla campaign. Challenge, veteran squad mates, improved loadout. Then tactical mastery, followed by tactical expertise. Until you get Terminator armor, it's probably better to use Melter. Then Stormbolter. To be honest, while this build is playable, it really falls off in Chaos Rising and is significantly weaker than the melee build in power armor. Like the previous one, it also wants to stay pure. Full Chaos. You can immediately take Standguard squad, improved loadout and simply invest all remaining points in stamina until the end of the game. And Rage partially compensates for challenge loss. Basically, we play as ranged and grab Terminator armor at the first opportunity. Out of the specialist ammunition, Dragonfire bolts are probably the best, but overall they are all mediocre. As for Blighted Bolt and Blighted armor, which are unique to Heretic Tarkus, the armor is simply bad. In its maxed out version it gives +3 to each skill, but in the case of Heretic we don't need anything in energy or melee and we take all in ranged and stamina anyway. Any armor with resistance miles better than this one. The Blighted Bolter can be used until you get Terminator armor, but after that it becomes pointless, because its damage is simply lower. And don't forget, Bolter is still a ranged weapon. Even though it has high melee damage, your squad mates will deal basically 0 damage in melee. And it performs poorly against heavy armor and vehicles. So really, the main purpose of these two guaranteed items is to quickly build up corruption for the Mark of Nurgle.